Our Waite Park candidate forum for mayor. If you have any comments, please come to the podium, pick up a piece of paper. There's ink pens up here. So write your comment down, bring them back to me, and I will hand them over to the moderator. Also, if you're at home and you're listening to this, you can email me with my technology background. Anyway, it's rick.miller@ci.waitepark.mn.us. rick.miller@ci.waitepark.mn.us. So I will keep checking my emails for those. We do have some already that are on there. So with that being said, again, if you have any comments, there's paper up here. You can write it down, bring them back up to me. I'm going to turn it over to our moderator for this evening, Mr. Jim Maurice from WJON.
All right, thank you, Mayor Miller, and thank you to everyone for being here tonight at City Hall. We have a nice crowd here tonight, so that's exciting to see. Also, thanks to everybody that's tuning in and watching from home this evening. Of course, this event is meant to give you more information about our two candidates before you cast your ballot for this year's general election here in Waite Park. I have prepared a list of topics and questions that I'm going to be asking the candidates to address this evening, but of course, as Rick Miller just said, we want to also hear from you. So if you've got a specific topic that you'd like the candidates to talk about, you can write it down on the cards up at the podium, and those cards will be brought over to me to ask the candidates tonight. So let's meet the two candidates running to be the next mayor of the city of Waite Park. Of course, they're both current city council members. We have Ken Schmidt and Mike Lindquist. I'm going to try to remember to alternate between the two so they start opposite times each time we ask them a question. But first of all, let's just have you talk a little bit about your background and your leadership and your experience. And by the toss of a coin, we're going to start with Mike Lindquist. Talk a little bit about your background.
Okay. Well, I've been a member of the city here, or a citizen, for 51 years now. Most of those 51 years I spent working with or working for the city. I brought up a family in the town. We have 4 kids. They were very active in a lot of the activities back in the days. Put a lot of miles on back and forth, so on. I'm sure everybody knows how that works. For my involvement in the city, I was involved in the police department for 21 years, police and rescue at that time. Was a Spostog president for 4 years. Been on the planning commission. I've also been on the park board for a period of time. Kind of graduated up the scale from there. I was also on, if you remember back in the days when we had the problems in the B&N with the cleanup, I was on that committee until we finally got that problem taken care of and were able to finally use that property in the right way. Presently, I am on the Waite Park City Council. I've been on it for 24 years. Seen a lot of different things happen in those 24 years. Some good, a lot of good, and some bad. But we have a tendency to clear those problems up and work them out. Help to organize some volunteer workers to help build some of our park out in Lions Park. Got an organization to help put that child's area in out there. Also in our baseball fields out there, help to get the warming house put together so it was useful. So been involved, like I said, for a lot of years, did a lot of things, good things that happened in the city. Some of the ambitions, I guess, I'd share with you at this point would be, is not to be afraid to speak up in our meetings when we have it, if you have a question. I always feel if you don't know or understand some of those questions, you should be speaking up and asking the questions that need to be asked in those particular problems so that you have the proper answers to answer some of that. One of my other ambitions is to make sure that in the past, some of the information doesn't get to us in a timely manner. And in order to make a good decision, we need to have those types of information before we get to the meetings or a day or two before, so that if you do have questions, you can bring them back and ask and try to find out what you would like for the information for that particular problem. Things that we've just kind of in the last few months, we've completed a comprehensive and strategic plan. Like to work with that. We also just started in the last month or month and a half, I believe, is our EDA, which is going to help immensely with the development of housing, new business development in the town. And I guess finally is one of the more important parts of is getting some more citizen involvement. This is the most people I've seen in this room for any of our meetings for a long, long time. But I think we have to work hard on getting more of the citizens involved, get the information out to you people, whether it be through our community television station here, our websites, and social media is out there. So those are some of the things I would like to work on if I get elected into this position.
All right, thanks, Mike. Ken Schmidt, same question. Just tell a little bit about your background and your experience here in Waite Park.
All right, well, great. Basically, I've been married for 44 years. We have 3 boys, 11 grandchildren. And we came to Waite Park in 1980, built my first home there, and been part of the community ever since. I attended St. Cloud Business College in business management and accounting. And from there, my boys became Cub Scouts. So I was a den leader, became a treasurer, and eventually the pack leader. From there, my kids moved on to Boy Scouts, where I was the treasurer there and the assistant Cub Master. And all 3 of my boys achieved the rank of Eagle Scout. After that, the Christmas dinner was started by the Boy Scouts. So for the last 25 years, my family's been serving meals to the community. And along with that, I ended up being part of the Waite Park Festival. I started out as the treasurer, vice president, and was president of the festival for over 10 years. I was also coach Babe Ruth baseball, a member of the Waite Park Lions in '97, treasurer, vice president, and fundraising chair for a local fishing club. And then I started with the Parks Board, spent over 17 years there. Projects that were completed while I was there is the pavilion down at Community Park, some of the River Edge projects, the splash pad, the disc golf course, of course, our great pickleball courts, the Healthy Living Trail along 3rd Street. I was also 2 years on the Planning Commission, spent since 2019 on City Council. And the last 15 years, I've been a Medicare specialist helping people with their Medicare decisions. I spent 30 years managing businesses, so I understand how to talk to the public, how to deal with employees and how to manage budgets. And realistically, one of the first things I would like to do is improve the communications, between the cities and the citizens, starting an email list so you're alerted on different projects and what's going on. I think it's better if the citizens understand how we're spending their tax dollars. It helps dispel some of the rumors. So the other thing is I would like to see us market our city better. You know, we have a ton of great amenities in the city, and we need to gloat about them a little bit. So
leadership and experience are going to be particularly important because Waite Park not only is going to have a new mayor for the first time in a long time, but you'll also have 2 new city council members. How do you plan to lead the council, work with the city staff, and, as you both mentioned, communicate better to the public? And also, what is your understanding of what the role of the mayor should be? And Ken, we'll start with you this time.
Okay. You know, number one is communications. You know, we need to sit down and talk to everybody so everybody gets on the same page and understand. You know, one thing I've done is I met with each one of the department heads and kind of sat down and, hey, what are your visions? What are my visions? You know, what direction do we need to go? And along with that, I did a ride along with the police department to kind of get a ground view of what the police officers go through.
Okay. Mike, once again, how do you plan to lead the council, work with the city staff, communicate to the public, and also what's your understanding of the role of the mayor of Waite Park?
Well, first of all, communications, like Ken mentioned, is a really big problem I think we're having right now between the council and our administration. Our administration is good. I have no complaints about them. But sometimes when we get to these meetings, we're dropped with things right at the meeting that we should have information on prior to. That is one of the big major problems I foresee. And to work with that would be to, like you said, we're going to have 2 new people on the council. I would like to meet with those people prior to, go over their concerns, find out what they're thinking, and go from there. You have to kind of lead the pack. We don't need to continue without proper information. I mean, that's probably the most important thing of it all. And as far as leadership of the mayor, you're actually a spokesperson for the town. You get out, you meet the people, you go talk to the contractors, you talk to developers, you talk to people interested in trying to help Waite Park get better. That's one of the big things I believe as a mayor you can do. Get out there, work with your department heads here and those types of things. And also work with the department heads to see what exactly is going on and what their views are. So those are the type of things that are pretty simple to do, but at the same time, we have to come up with some good answers as to how we can all work together, make it work, and make the city better than what it is now.
So one of the biggest projects that Waite Park has right now, of course, is the Public Safety City Hall expansion project. Expanding the current site has been deemed to be the most affordable, but you're also taking away some community parkland. As the mayor, I know there's a lot of steps still have to happen, but as the mayor, how do you see your role in keeping the project moving forward, Mike?
I'm on the committee right now for that particular project. This project was one of those, I actually had to ask to form a committee of council people to be on there. We were not asked at the beginning to be on there. I brought it up, seeing that this is a very important project to the city. It's a very expensive one, and I thought that the city council should have a seat on the decisions or what's going on with this type of development. This isn't the only one we have. Our water problem, which a lot of people are afraid have heard of, that's another thing. I've talked with Bill quite a few times about it, talked to a lot of people. about this problem. And we did come up, I believe, last night in our meeting that we're not going to choose just one avenue to go down, that we're going to look at two to see what is going to be the most affordable and the best for the city in the future. So those are the types of things that we have to work together on and share information as it comes down the pipeline so that the council is aware of what's going on at all times. And it's just a better communication and information that when people ask you, you do have some type of answer for the citizens or the business community in the town.
And again, as the mayor, what do you see the role of the mayor being in moving forward the public safety City Hall expansion project?
Well, it all comes down to communications to make sure that the citizens are aware of what we're doing and how it's progressing. You know, I sit on the committee along with Mike, and you know, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, and I think we're moving forward quite well. You know, and really, it's just to keep everybody in the loop. We've hired a really good architect and a good contractor, and they seem to be working really well together. So I'm very excited about this project moving forward.
Question related from the audience. If we no longer have a fire department, if that disbands, is there really a need to expand this existing building? Ken?
Well, you know, let's not put the cart before the horse. You know, number one, we need to see what's going on. There is a fire study going on right now, so it'll be interesting to see when that comes back what their suggestions are. You know, I can't see us just saying, hey, let's just give up on the fire department. That's not the case here. You know, take a lot of pride in our fire department, and, you know, I think if we can get some more volunteers, we can make it work very well.
Mike, same question. So is it possible if the fire department isn't here anymore, could you use that space?
Well, I don't think it's going to be a question if they're going to be here anymore because I'd retain them. We do have an agreement with St. Cloud to help us because we are short. I believe 15 firefighters, I'm not sure. But you got to maintain the public safety for the citizens and the business. So our fire department, as far as I'm concerned, is going to stay. As Ken said, there is a problem. People don't like to volunteer a lot of their time anymore to that type of a deal because, I'll be honest, it takes a lot of time. It does. And you have to be dedicated to that to properly function as a fire department. So as far as our safety facility, it really has nothing to do with the fire. We're looking at enhancing the fire department over there with some different things for the firemen. And that fire safety study, 3 years, it's ridiculous. It should have come back a long time ago so that we can actually work together with the fire department on what the recommendations will be coming down from that study. And we're just kind of waiting for that.
Actually, my next question on my list has to do with the fire department. So obviously we're waiting for that study to come back, and you're right now getting help from the city of St. Cloud to respond. So in the meantime, while you're kind of in this limbo, is there anything, and I know many cities are having the exact same problem you guys, you are not unique, but is there anything different that the city can be doing to try to attract and recruit volunteer firefighters to come in and fill that void, Mike?
Well, you know, we've been trying for years now. I'd say it's years. We advertise. We put it on our website. There's signs all over town asking for volunteers to come in and apply. You know, it's a tough situation. And if I had an answer, I'm sure the fire department would be full by now. But we're doing our best to work with what we have, and we'll still keep plugging along to try to get those volunteers that we need, and hopefully we can fulfill that in the near future.
Ken, is there any new tool in the tool shed to recruit volunteers, pull them out of somewhere and recruit
Well, you know, it's been great. You know, we have videos out there with one of our firefighters that is a business owner, you know, encouraging business owners to encourage their employees to join. You know, it's on Facebook. We have signs out there. You know, and now it's just a matter of maybe going one-on-one to some of the businesses and talk person to person to see if that would help us.
Okay. So let's talk about your plans for strategic growth. I think you both have kind of touched on that already, but there's obviously commercial and industrial growth, but there's also housing options right now. Waite Park has a lot of rental properties, including a lot of apartment buildings. So growing both areas is going to, of course, add to your tax base. How do you do that without straining your city resources? And what does positive growth look like to you? And one of the questions from our audience members is on that same line. Could you elaborate how the city could actively participate in infrastructure like sewer and water to facilitate some more residential growth? So how do you get positive growth, Ken?
Well, realistically, one of the first things I would like to do is put together a focus group. You know, get the stakeholders involved. We have landowners, you know, real estate agents, developers. Get them together and let's sit down and start talking about how we're going to market it. What are the restrictions? What's going on? What's stopping us from getting our development? And from there, just start putting together a plan on this is how we're going to do it. But I think you need to get the stakeholders involved right up front.
Mike, how do you facilitate some positive growth, whether it's residential or industrial, in your city?
Well, I've talked to several developers in the last couple months about this particular problem. There are some restraints when it comes to developing in this area. But however, we have worked together, like I mentioned before. We formed an EDA, which will help make things easier when it comes to developing. We also just hired a new planner last night to help with the planning and working with the EDA. There are tools that I think the city can pull out of the bag to help with some of this development. There are grants through the state that can be used. Infrastructure is a major problem when it comes to developing because it's so expensive. That is one of the major problems with developing is putting in your infrastructure. And that's where the EDA, some of these grants, we have other tools we can use as a city to help with the development. If we can get a developer that is really serious to come in and do this. And meeting with a bunch of them, bringing them together, I hope this new planner that we hired last night is going to help, and I think it will, getting these groups together and showing them where a particular growth is that we want to look at and where to put residential. We do have a good business park, and we do have plenty of land for development for residential. So we just have to get going on it. It's in the beginning stage. I think it's going to go over pretty well once it gets going. And as a council and our planning and building, we can all sit together and work together to try to drive that because, like you said, if you develop and you have good development business with residential, it does help on the tax base for the city to try to level that out without having to raise your taxes highly every year.
This is a question from the audience, which is somewhat related. So with the wide-ranging efforts to capitalize on the things like the Ledge Amphitheater, Quarry Park, which of course is a county park, but it's adjacent to your city, how do you take those beautiful amenities you have and attract some major businesses to them? Things like they're suggesting restaurants, more hotels, other things like that. What can you do to attract some of those things to go along with those amenities, Mike?
Well, our administrator, she's pretty forward on what we should do out there. And again, it's getting the right developer to do those things that would enhance those areas. There is property out by the ledge that is available for a nice development of your restaurant, your bar, kind of strip mall kind of thing that would enhance the ledge along with that particular area to bring in more people to the town. Quarry Park is in Waite Park. And that would also help enhance Quarry Park, I think. So, you know, it's little things like that, but it's getting the interest in finding the right people to come in and look at these things and working with the property owner, not only in just that little instance, but there are little parcels all over that could help develop some of these little type business, strip mall, restaurant, whatever, to help bring people in. It's a nice area. It's very convenient to get to, and that's one of the areas I think we could promote to put those types of things in, along with some of the other area that is available.
Yeah, Ken, same question. So what, next to things like the Ledge and Quarry Park, what can the city do to kind of attract some new things to those areas?
Well, I think what we really need to do is communicate it out to the rest of the state of Minnesota. You know, we have these great amenities here, you know, along with the, you know, the Ledge and Quarry Park. I mean, we got a great system of trails, we got wonderful parks, you know, and we need to get that out there. You know, it'd be great to see like an entertainment district get started right by the Ledge where you could do some multi-use, you know, businesses underneath, apartments on top. You know, there's a lot of different ways we can do that, but we need to, you know, let people know what we have here.
Okay. Let's talk about PFAS. The city's going to have to address the water treatment plant when it comes to PFAS, which we know is going to be very expensive. That could impact future development, costs to city water users, those things. There's still a lot that has to happen on that issue, but as the mayor, talk about your role in navigating your city through this very difficult process, Ken.
Well, the biggest thing is to gather enough information. You know, right now, yes, we are looking at two different directions, and we really need to figure out, you know, what do we need to do, which is going to be the most economical. You know, the biggest thing with PFAS is what do you do with it once you get it out of the water? You know, so there's a lot of costs related to that, so that's also a consideration. You know, I took the time and went down to the water treatment plant and took a tour and talked to some of the workers there, and you know, there's a lot of different options that could be done with our own facility. So it really is going to come down to which one's going to be more fiscally responsible for our citizens.
Mike, talk about that. I know you addressed it earlier this evening, but how do you want to navigate this challenging issue if you're the mayor?
Well, I think Ken is right on we need information. You know, I can't disagree with that. We need information to determine which way is the best way to go. We do have two plans, which I stated before, and it's figuring out which of those two plans are going to be the most cost-effective in the future, as well as getting it together. You know, we have until 29, I believe it was?
28.
28 to get this thing rolling and have it virtually completed. You know, these types of things take time because you got to go through studies, you have to go through financing. Where are we going to finance it? How are we going to get financing? Are there grants available? for this particular problem. I mean, it was one of those things that was forced on us through the state that we had to clear up. And now we're trying to figure out what is going to be the most cost-effective, how it's going to handle for the future of Waite Park 20 or 30 years from now, depending on which way we determine to go. Is it going to be rebuild what we have or go with Plan 2, which is a good plan, and it saves us a lot of money. The plant is roughly $20 or $24 million to rebuild what we have, and talking with our superintendent, if we went the other way, it may cost about half of that and have good water.
Our next question is from the audience. One of the activities you do as a Waite Park council member and as mayor is to approve ordinances. These provide a roadmap for a citizen to build something, hold an event, to quarry some land, or just some of his examples. Do you believe you're required to vote based on the ordinance compliance, or can you factor in your own personal opinions? For example, if somebody meets all of the requirements that an ordinance specifies, you'd be required to not object, even if your personal preferences may be otherwise. Mike?
So basically what you're asking is,
Does your personal
as a
opinion,
council, can we question an ordinance to make it work?
are you factoring in your own personal opinion, even though it may conflict with the city's ordinance says?
Well, I do believe that you always have, if you have a question and it's not clear, I think it's your right to ask a question to make sure that you can get it clarified as to what exactly we can do, what exactly does the ordinance say, and depending on what it is, if more research has to be done to say a yes or a no. If you don't get the proper information or try to find out what it is, you could make a wrong decision. And that's why I stress with the new council coming in that start asking questions. Don't just sit there when something's up, and if you're kind of confused, ask and find out what the right answer is. I might have a different opinion than the next person. So let's talk about it. Let's see. Do we have to get our legal involved? You know, those types of things. It's just using a lot of common sense when it comes to making some of these decisions and trying to find the right answer that fits the different ordinance or whatever you're working with.
And so if somebody comes to the council, meets all the ordinance requirements, but it conflicts with how you personally believe, how do you vote on that?
Well, you know, my opinion is something that I try not to develop until we get all the facts and figures together. And real plain and simple, if they meet all the requirements, then there's not going to be an issue with how I feel about it.
So the next topic is going to be about recruitment and retention of employees. Of course, the city has struggled to fill their police positions and obviously the volunteer fire department. In addition, there's going to be a lot of key city staff with 20 plus years of experience that are going to be retiring soon. So talk about your plan for succession to make sure that the city has a smooth transition and has the best people in place moving forward as you lose some of these staff, and also try to fill positions that are open, Ken? How do you, as a mayor, want to play a role in that?
Well, realistically, it's sitting down and talking to the department heads. You know, we're a city that has wonderful benefits, you know, so we can attract a lot of good people. So we have to make sure that everybody knows that. And really, when you start working on succession plans, it comes down to cross-training and start bringing the people with less experience in with the experienced people so they understand what's going to go on and what is their track to improve and to grow bigger in the city.
Mike, talk about recruitment and retention. How do you plan to transition as you lose, especially some of your more experienced staff members, city members?
You know, that's one of those questions that's very difficult. Our PD has worked with some of the local VOTEC schools, some of the junior colleges. They've actually gone to them. They do have recruitment days that they attend to try to recruit people to come into Waite Park. Like Ken was saying, our benefits are second to none. But however, pay is always, for the new recruitments, pay seems to be the big thing. If they can get $5 more by going over here, they're gonna go get that $5, and the benefits really don't mean anything. So it's a tough position. I think Tony is doing a good job of trying to retain and keep his people. I think he's pretty flexible with his people. And it's just a matter of working with your people and training and that type of thing, and advancement. You know, is there a possibility for advancement within your department? Those are the types of things that help retain your people, is the possibility for advancement in the future and those types of things. Our department is, I believe, 23 people, so there is opportunity of those types there. And like I said, it's a tough field. It's kind of like the firefighters is the same thing, is a lot of people aren't looking to go into that field anymore like they used to be. You know, years ago, we'd have 2 openings and have 100 applications. Now we have 2 openings and maybe get 3. You know, so it's difficult. So you gotta go knocking on doors. You gotta find different ways to get people interested to come into your town to be a police officer.
I've asked all the topics that I wanted to talk on, and I asked all the questions from our audience. Rick, any other questions? Or?
No, I don't have any. Anybody from the audience want to ask anything? I sent you one on your email. Yeah, wasn't that answered with the fire department?
Oh, I didn't hear we talk about the fact that we don't have very many people to draw from.
Yeah, but that's our trouble.
290 people that are working in Waite Park, live in Waite Park.
Yeah. I think that was addressed by both candidates as far as going to businesses and trying to get those candidates to come. So.
I have a question.
Okay.
Is Plan B about water, reconnecting us to St. Cloud?
It's a possibility.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it more than?
Yes, I'll say one word, yes.
Could we do it before I'm dead in?
You know, I'll answer, and then Ken, if he's got more, I'll let him. We have to do a study. Like I say, studies take time, and too much time. And that's what we're doing. We're doing a study on St. Cloud, and we're going to do a study on the replacement of our existing water plant. And at that time, we can determine which is going to be the best way to go, the most economic for the city, and the best for the future.
You said that the study for the local treatment plant is a 4-year study?
No, I believe it's somewhere in the 12 to 18 month, I believe.
How much time would it take to study reconnecting to St. Cloud?
Same time. I hate to tell you, but that's what we were told. For the 2 studies to come together is going to take anywhere in that 12 to 18 month period, and that's why we have to get going on it, because we have a timeline that we have to meet to take care of that problem. So if we can help push that timeline down, we're certainly going to do it because we need the answers and we need to get going on it.
Ken, you want to just weigh in on those questions and just respond in any way?
No, that's about it.
Okay. Yeah.
For one thing,
I don't know if that's a candidates forum discussion for tonight. That's a discussion that needs to be held, and we don't have those numbers yet. Those are the studies that we're doing to get those numbers. It may be 50 million, it might be $5. We don't have those numbers yet. I don't think those can be answered tonight by these two candidates. I mean, as much as they'd like to answer them, I don't think it's quite fair to those two candidates to put that on them right now.
A lot of work.
I mean, we got approximate figures, and that's all we got. So it's like Rick said, we don't know, and that's why the study has to get done so we can determine which is the most effective and best for the city to go on.
So before we wrap up tonight for the Waite Park Mayoral Candidate Forum, we want to give both men a chance to speak one more time directly to the voters of Waite Park that are here obviously in the audience, but also watching at home. So tell them one last time why they should vote for you to be the next mayor of Waite Park. And Ken, we're going to start with you. Oh, and I'm going to say we're going to start with Mike this time.
All right. Well, we'll try to wrap it up pretty quick. I guess there's a couple words that come to mind, and that's a lot of common sense. When you're working with the council, working with our administration here, it's common sense decisions that have to be made amongst the council. And in order to get to that, I would like to urge my council, if I'm here, to think about things before they vote. Make sure they have the proper information in a timely manner from our administration at our meetings, at the council meetings. We do workshops, which is a great tool for the city because you can talk a lot at those workshops, more so than at a regular council meeting. That way they can have the information, make the proper decisions that need to be made. And don't be afraid to ask questions. And that goes for the citizens also, business people, community. Don't be afraid to come and ask us decisions, whether it be with our administration, our council, the mayor. Don't be afraid to come up and ask because we do have what they call the chain of command where we can follow it up and hopefully get the proper information back to them. Get more citizen involvement. I would really like to see more citizen involvement in the city. We kind of pointed out how we can possibly do that. A lot of people ask, how do you get involved? And my answer is, come to the meetings. Come to us if you have questions. Don't be afraid to ask them. That's the biggest thing. You know, it seems like people are somewhat shy away from asking questions at different things. Or, you know, our phone numbers and email are on our website. And don't be afraid to use them. And like I said, one of the main things also was getting the proper information out to our community. I think that is a goal that we should be working on to get more information out to them. And like I said, I'm not the kind of person that is afraid to speak up. Maybe I talk too much, I don't know. But that's one of the prime things that a council, mayor, and anybody should not be afraid to speak up, say what's on their mind, ask questions so that those decisions are a heck of a lot easier to make at the end. And we have to work a little bit harder with our EDA to help with this new development that EDA can help doing. We got the new planner in. We need to develop housing. We need to develop more business. And it sounds kind of funny, but we do have a lot, but we need more. And that all helps basically in the tax base for the city. The more we can develop in those two areas, the easier it will be to help keep the tax rate and maintain an affordable type rate for the citizens and the business. So, and if you are looking for a leader that isn't afraid to speak up or help get the council in the right direction, not be afraid to ask, not be afraid to speak up when you need to speak up. Great coach. And I think I could lead the city into that, working with our administration. Like I said, we have a good administration. I'm not going to say they're bad, because they are good. They know what they're doing. They're very experienced, and there's a lot of information that can be shared down that needs to be shared down.
Thank you, Mike. Ken, same thing, speaking to the audience here, the people listening at home. Why should they vote for you to be the next mayor?
Well, you know, I have a very strong commitment to the community, and realistically, the 30-plus years of managing business, I understand how to talk to people. I understand how to work with employees, how to handle budgets. And realistically, you know, we do the communication part. This is something that I've already started with our administration, getting this email system set up. So hopefully in the first quarter, we have that set up and running. So, you know, we do a lot of things on city council. You know, I've done a lot of volunteer work in this community. I have a very strong commitment, and I feel I would be the better candidate because of my business background. And I'd be honored to get all your votes.
So thank you, Ken. So with that, that'll conclude our forum tonight. I want to thank the city officials for asking me to be a part of tonight's event. Also, thanks to everybody in attendance. It was a nice showing here, lots of great questions. In my personal opinion, I think we give too much emphasis on the presidential race and not nearly enough to our local races, which actually affect our pocketbooks way more than the national races. So thanks to Ken Schmidt and Mike Lindquist for raising their hands and wanting to lead the city of Waite Park. Have a good night, everybody.